After a tough loss in a marquee matchup last weekend, an opportunity to bounce back is upon the Michigan Wolverines. Welcome into the game day edition of Inside Michigan Football. Jack Miller's here, John Jansen's here as we break down the matchup for the Wolverines against Central Michigan. Last week at Oklahoma, Michigan trailed 14-0 at halftime before Justice Haynes provided a spark on the first play from scrimmage in the second half, a 75-yard house call. That did prove to be the Wolverines' only touchdown as Oklahoma led wire to wire. So guys, what is the reason for that? Was it Michigan, Oklahoma, or a little bit of both?
I would say both. I think you got to give credit where credit's due. Oklahoma played a really good game. They were ready. I thought they had a great scheme, and they executed it well in their home environment. At the same time, I think it became apparent that Michigan's just not quite there yet. There's a lot of great pieces out there, a lot of great talent, but from a communication standpoint and then execution of whatever the plan was, just came up a little bit short. So it's early in the year. You have a lot to build on. You take a loss week 2, try to turn it into a positive and move forward.
For Oklahoma, some of it was John Mateer, just being a more veteran quarterback, more comfortable in those situations, especially when things broke down. He was able to make things happen. On the other side, Brent Venables. It's a much different defense, a much difficult defense. So for Michigan's side, it's really about trying to make sure that you're not in 3rd and 8 as many times. They averaged 3rd and 8, I think it was 8.3. So that makes it difficult to convert some of those. And defensively, when you're in that situation, it's about pressuring the quarterback. And until they got Jay Sean back in the second half, that pressure just wasn't there.
So John Mateer won't be on Central Michigan. In fact, the Chippewas used 3 different quarterbacks. But other than that, John, what do you want to see from Michigan in terms of bouncing back here today?
A few things that I just mentioned in terms of penetration defensively, being able to get pressure on an opposing quarterback, but offensively, it's being much better on 1st and 2nd down. If you are looking at 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, that's much more manageable. It's an easier play call for Chip Lindsey, and it's a much easier conversion. There's not as much stress on your young quarterback and a developing offensive line.
Yeah, I think it's about fundamentals, getting off tackles or getting off blocks, tackling better, blocking more square as an offensive line, the communication. You can't have missed assignments in a game like this. You got an inferior opponent at home. You need to clean those things up. But you hear from coaches all the time after a loss. You go back to the basics, back to the fundamentals, and let those carry you through to the next progression of the season. So play a clean game and go from there.
Michigan will try to do all that without head coach Sherrone Moore. He starts his 2-game suspension in this game. Why did he appoint Biff Poggi as the acting head coach? Here's Coach Moore to explain.
He's been in the program before. He was a huge help for me when I was the coordinator, online coach at first, and just a general feeling of how the program goes, of the knowledge of the players specifically was huge. And then, obviously his experience as a high school head coach, as a head coach, but just in general, his love for the players, importantly, his knowledge of everybody in our building, and keeping the cohesion in the building was huge. And I also wanted our coordinators to be able to do what they do, and continue their jobs as they go through the season, and let me come back and let there be no hiccups and not have to do anything extra. And I think that's going to be important so that they can do that at a high level.
Well, we talk a lot about the offense. We talk a lot about Bryce Underwood, his development, the receivers, the offensive line. I had a chance to talk to offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey. There's a lot of focus on Bryce Underwood. 2 games under his belt. How have you seen him grow through 2 games?
Yeah, I think I've seen him take a lot of growth in running the offense with changing protections, with getting us out of a bad play. You've seen him, his natural ability at times take over, which we want that. We want that anytime we can get it, right? If it's not clean, take off and make a play. He did that a couple times the other night, trying to get more of those opportunities for him, but I like the progress he's making. Okay, he got a road test the other day that was very challenging, and it's one that I think he'll grow a lot from.
What, as a play caller, what can you do to help him gain that confidence early in the game, but also the rhythm for the offense?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. If you watch college or NFL football, the guys get in rhythm early, and better teams make it harder. Okay, no question about that, and it's always a challenge every week to find those opportunities. And sometimes those rhythm might be quick games, sometimes it might be get him on the move. And I think those are opportunities, or sometimes it's an opportunity to run it, to hand the thing, or throw it out on the perimeter. So I think that's important for us. We have to each week work really hard at trying to find ways, not just for him to get in rhythm, but for our offense to get in rhythm, and then it allows you to do a lot of other things.
what needs to happen to be better, more effective on third down?
Yeah, I think we got to give them some plays that maybe that we can execute at a higher level. I think last week a couple times we had some communication issues between receiver, quarterback, but at the end of the day, my job is to get us in the best opportunities we can, and that didn't happen the other night. So we got to make sure we work really hard at improving that area. And I think sometimes as a coach, you got to go back and say, well, okay, what are we good at doing? How can we do what we're good at? What we're going to be, or what we are good at compared to what they're showing us on defense. And I think it always starts there because a lot of good plays out there. We just got to make sure we're in position to run things that we're good at.
Great stuff there from offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey. John, after that conversation, what you saw last week, assess this offense right now.
It's really about making sure that Bryce is comfortable. It's about being able to get this offense with some confidence plays. What are you going to run when it's 3rd and 1? And that you can convert that so you get a fresh set of downs. If it's 3rd and 8 or plus, what are the type of protections that you can run that give the offensive line the confidence that they can pick up blitzes, they can make calls. It'll be a little bit easier at home, but those are some of the things that need to happen. And this group is built to. There's plenty of talent. They can get it done. It's just a matter of going out and executing.
Yeah, you talk about confidence plays. It's really about finding an identity, right? There's been a lot that we've seen through 2 weeks, different formations, different styles of run, different routes, all of that. I think after 2 weeks, you have enough body of evidence now to start to figure out, to your point, John, what are those things that give them the best chance to be successful? Whatever they might be, it's time to start focusing in on those, getting as best we can at those so that the offense can go put up points and every player can get more comfortable in the system.
An identity for this program in recent years has been the offensive line. What have you seen there with obviously the injury to Giovanni El Hadi being a key storyline last week?
Yeah, tale of 2 games, really. I mean, week 1 looked really consistent, looked really solid, not so much last week. Obviously, having Gio out hurt, but you got to think that with the offensive line having that competition going through camp and who was going to play, who was going to get the starting job, they were getting ready for something like this. You almost inevitably know that an offensive lineman is going to go down at some point. So you have to have other guys that are ready to jump in and get it done. You'd like to see what we saw week 1. A lot of consistency, great communication, and getting that running game going so it can open it up for Bryce.
This is not going to be breaking news. And Brian, I know you've heard me say this before. The expectation is not for the player, it's for the position. So Nathan Afobe, hey, you don't know when your opportunity is going to come. All of a sudden, he's thrust into a moment. And it even happened at the right guard position. So those guys have to be ready. Gio talked about it this summer with me. You have to be ready. You don't know when that opportunity presents itself, but this offensive line has to find a way to gel, has to find a way to get movement. And ultimately, if you can get this run game going, and you can pick up 4, 5, 6 yards per carry, which is the expectation here at Michigan, now all of a sudden, everything else seems to be a little bit easier, and that confidence continues to build.
For stretches, the expectations for the defense, they've lived up to those, but more is needed heading into the non-conference finale. Here are some perspectives from some Wolverines defenders before the matchup with the Chippewas.
You just really have to start over, go back to square one, work it back up. We got to execute. We have to tackle better. We have to communicate better. I feel those are all a lot of the things that ended up beating us.
Everything is still on the table for us. It's not a loss, it's a lesson. So we learned that was a lot of people on our team for first big game. They got that experience. They see what it felt like. And I think it's only going to help our team.
We heard all offseason about the depth at the linebacker position for Michigan. I had a chance to catch up with Coach Brian Jean-Marie and hear how the guys have done through 2 weeks. Coach, Jay-Sean missed the first half, obviously, against Oklahoma. How'd the rest of the team do without him and then once he got back in the game?
Obviously, he's a spark plug for us on defense. He kind of brings the physicality factor that we love here, on defense. So did we miss him? Obviously, yes, but I thought the guys really rallied around him. Jimmy Rolder and Cole Sullivan in particular, thought they came in and didn't miss a beat.
Defense struggled to tackle at times. When you go back to practice, especially early in the year, what are some of the things you can focus on this week to make sure next week its tackling is more sound?
Tackling is what we always base everything we do off. We were disappointed in ourselves, the way we tackled, and I'm saying ourselves, us coaches and players, because it's hard to win games, especially games of that magnitude, when you don't tackle at a high level. So obviously we got back to the drawing board. We opened every Tuesday practice with a tackle circuit, and that's always going to be the focus for us.
Ernest Hausman, great kid, captain, leader. Not sure if you saw the College Game Day special on him about his charity. Talk about him, what he's meant to this team, and just him as a human being.
Ernest, I've been doing this for a long time. He's probably one of the more unique players I've ever had a chance to coach. I joke with him sometimes because I call him a politician. He's so, well put together. He's wise beyond his years. And you can tell from that Game Day special just how much, being not just a role model, but kind of a light for, especially for his family back in Uganda.
Let's focus on this week. Central Michigan, Chippewas come to town. What have you seen on film? What's it going to take for the defense to slow down their offense?
We like to use the word old school with them. They are as good of a running team as you're going to see, and they don't mind you knowing that they're going to run the football, and they roll up their sleeves, and they're going to challenge you in that aspect of the game. And we love it because it's a challenge for our guys, because we know that's what their plan is coming in. So we're going to have to play with some toughness, play with great pad level, and what we just talked about, the tackling aspect. We have to do a great job of tackling and wrapping their ball carriers up and knocking them back.
So, Jack, assess the defense through 2 weeks.
I think so. I think there's been moments where it looks really solid out there and moments where it hasn't been. Last week at Oklahoma, the lack of tackling was a real problem. Mateer exposed that in the defense. And so back to the fundamentals this week, hopefully get that going again. I like the talent defensively. I think there's a ton of talent on the field. As long as they continue to gel and get the fundamentals going through the mid part to the end of the season, I think we'll be okay. So there's some work to do, but I like it so far.
Yeah, I mean, some of the results have been there. They'll be better if we're just more disciplined. And disciplined, whether it's, hey, you got a read option. Am I keying the quarterback, make sure my eyes are where they're supposed to be, my body's supposed to be there. If it's the angles of pursuit, and it's going to change by quarterback, by running back, you've got to know your opponent and make the right accommodations. And when you get there, sometimes if it's a quarterback, he's a mobile quarterback, break down on the quarterback and make the play. If it's a very fast back, you're going to have to change your angle, but it's about blocking and tackling. Defensively, the tackling needs to be better.
So non-conference finale here, John. What unit do you expect to see a big jump from in this one?
Wow. God, they could all use a little bit of a jump, but I'd probably say that offensive line. And, it's going to be tough because of new components. Giovanni, I don't expect him to be back this week, so you're going to have, a new left guard. Brady Norton is your right guard. So you've got to continue to gel, build, and get movement up front. Relocate that line of scrimmage. If you can relocate the line of scrimmage, now all of a sudden you're looking at Justice Haynes or Jordan Marshall getting into the line of scrimmage before they got to make their first cut. That's the goal of every offensive lineman, but it's really about being able to flat back and half speed, creating movement up front, and allowing some rushing lanes for the running backs.
I'm going to pivot, funny enough, two guys in the trenches. I'm going to go with the defensive line. I think that they had a real opportunity last week to put the world on notice that they were for real, get to Mateer with four guys. Didn't do that enough. Didn't get off blocks well enough. That offensive line from Oklahoma had their way in a lot of ways with our defensive line. I'd like to see a little more physicality. I'd like to see a little more chaos in the backfield. Be able to, John, like you said, make those reads and know where you need to be, where your body and eyes need to be. Get back to some of the basics with that group. There's plenty of talent out there. And in every single big game we've won over the last couple of years, the defensive line has really put their stamp on that game. The D-line needs to take a step forward to be that solid piece of a foundation for the rest of the team.
Michigan will hope to accomplish all of that against a Central Michigan team that comes to town with new leadership. Matt Drinkle takes over as head coach. He spent the previous 6 seasons on the staff at Army, which followed 5 successful campaigns as the head coach at NAIA Kansas Wesleyan. Chippewas wrapping up a 3-game road swing. They won at San Jose State in week 1 before falling at Pitt last week. This is the 5th all-time meeting between the Wolverines and the Chippewas. The last, 2013, Michigan won 59-9. Look at that offensive line paving the way, and it was led by starting center Jack Miller.
Yeah, seems like a lifetime ago. I can tell you that. I think there was a play there where it was a reverse, and I had to pull out, and I got running downfield. It was about a 40-yard play. And I think I had to go look for the oxygen tank after that. That was not good. I was pretty winded after that one. But we got the win. That was all that mattered.
Well, we'll certainly hope to see similar efforts from the Wolverines' offensive line, as Jack talked about, defensive line, in the finale of the non-conference slate, Michigan and CMU. Thanks for watching to this week's edition of Game Day edition of Inside Michigan Football. For John Jansen and Jack Miller, I'm Brian Bush. Go Blue.